panel installation proposed for 982 East Acacia Circle. And Jason, do you have your report?
I do, thank you. Just 1 second. I'm trying to figure out how I can best present it to you so that you can see it. So I'm just going to go ahead and present in Word if that's okay for you. And you'll be seeing the second item on the agenda because of the width of my screen. But just going over the application, 982 East Acacia Drive, the applicant's requesting approval for installation of solar electric panels on the flat roof portion of their existing residence. As a reminder to the members of the public and to the board, there are 3 conditions that need to be met in order to be approved. They shall be screened from public view. The height of such screening at a minimum shall be the height of the solar energy collector panel. And the screening may be a parapet or by a screening while replicating the materials of the building. So I spoke with Pam and looked at the exhibits. And so based on the exhibits provided by the applicant, it appears that the tilted arrays will not be screened from view by a parapet wall that exceeds the height of the panel array. So in the technical documents provided by the applicant, it appears to show a 12-inch tall tilted array. But then they did provide a photo, and I'm not sure if it's from that residence or just as an example from somewhere else, that showed the array could be as tall as 20 inches. So we would ask that.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, did somebody have a question?
Jason, finish your review, and then I'll ask the applicant for any clarifications.
Oh, okay. And so based on that, the concern is, the board, of course, does have some discretion for uncompletely screened tilted arrays on a flat roof panel if perhaps, through other means of screening based on the orientation of the roof, it's not visible from the street. There's, perhaps some mature landscaping, that it wouldn't represent a concern, an aesthetic concern, and that the overall general intent of the code could be met. Did you want me to did you guys have the PDFs available through your, from the packet to take a look at those exhibits where they show the 12 inches and then the photo?
Yeah, I have them.
Okay. So those are the only concerns. I mean, if they can display that that they can convey that the panels could be screened from view, and we're not going to see kind of the ugly side of unscreened tilted panels, I think that staff could be supportive of it, but obviously the decision is made up to the board since you have the discretion to go beyond the requirements of ABC.
Okay. Is the applicant on? Is the applicant present for this project? Let's see.
I am here.
Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, can you just give your name for the record?
My name is Laurel Lundeen, and I represent Eris Energy, who is the contracting company that will be installing the system.
Okay, thank you.
We did realize that it is on the flat portion of the roof. It is not surrounded by the parapet, but upon looking at Google Images and one of our staff being on site to do a site visit and take measurements to make sure that the array would fit where we were going to put it. The array is not going to be visible from the street or the golf course.
Okay. The question we see at the photo examples that you give, you're showing a tilt system, but it's already on a pitched roof. And then the other one that measures the leg, the high end is at 20 inches. I was looking at this house, and it looks like the highest part of the parapet is towards the front where you can see where the drainage scupper is. Sorry. And that only appears to be maybe 12 inches or so. And then that will get less as it goes up to the higher part of the roof. So it's a fairly low roof. Our question is, how high are you planning to tilt it? And whether you can reduce the tilt to where we've had other applicants tilt it maybe 12 a maximum of 12 inches. And then from like street perspective, you can get away with it above the parapet a little bit because you can't see it from a pedestrian vantage point.
When our tech was on site, we did measure the parapet wall, and they were at a height of 23 inches where the parapet walls were available. The tilt system will be pretty accurate to the pictures displayed. Upon looking a little further, if we were to lower the tilt by much, it could greatly affect the production, and the system won't be as effective for the customer.
Okay, so on your mounting detail, on the sheet 2, it says 12 inches max. Is that going to be correct?
My install manager was a little leery when he put that on there. It will probably exceed the 12 inches. If we need to have the plans changed, we can change it, but I don't think we can take it down to a 12-inch tilt and still have the production that the customer is expecting. But I've been told that even at the tilts where it's pictured as the examples, it will still not be visible from the street.
Okay. Any other board members have any questions?
Can I ask, so they're going to be tilted to this towards the south, right? Like the low end at the south,
Yeah,
which is the front of the residence.
which is the front, sort of, yeah.
Yeah, and then it's also kind of, I mean, if you look at the top-down view from Google Earth, I mean, there is like a pitched roof that really covers a lot of the cells. Anyway, like that, even if the parapet wasn't high enough and they weren't removed far enough from the street level looking up. So I mean, it seems to me like they probably aren't. I would expect them not to be visible from the street, just based on how far back they are. The one thing I have another question though is that it does look like the electrical service entrance meter and there's another.
There's there's a disconnect and another receiver meter, and then the solar combined. They're all three of those, and they're connected by conduit, and then a conduit to the roof.
And they're in the front.
Yeah, they're in the front, and and it doesn't seem like the conduit's concealed. That it's going to just run up the front of the wall, up and over the parapet.
We can paint the conduit so it can match the face of the house.
It's in conduit though. So it's not concealed, it's just running on wall mounted on the stucco.
So,
right.
And also on,
it close the wire into the conduit, but we can paint it so it doesn't look as visible.
So also on the Google Street View, it looks like there's kind of like a window AC unit or something, like maybe a condensing unit or something that's sticking out from the wall right there, where it looks like there's other equipment plans to be put. And I guess I'm a little concerned it's going to start looking kind of industrial or, right there. So I'm just wondering if there are any thoughts on or if it's possible to move those locations, why you chose the front elevation in particular, or if that's a choice you made, and if there's an option.
I think these are like zero lot line on that side. So I don't think they have access to the other side of that. And then the other one's probably pretty far away from the existing electrical service, which is right next to the garage door if you look at it, I think. It's right around the corner from that AC unit is where their electrical meter is. I think these are more like those patio homes. But
Okay.
I know it's gonna start looking a little cluttered to put a bunch of boxes and then a conduit. I mean, even if they're painted, it obviously looks like the back side of the wall when it's really the front of the house.
And it looks like that's maybe the garage. Is there any
The
possible?
garage, yeah.
Could they put it inside the garage possibly? I don't know if that's.
Can't put it inside. It has to be accessible to utility, unfortunately.
Yeah. I guess, and we don't really have a picture of where you're putting those. You could run, I mean, they could be nice and tight next to the electrical meter, or they could spread it all over that wall.
How
It
big a
looks-
box is it?
The combiner box isn't real big. It's probably an 8 by 12, and it's only maybe 3-4 inches deep. And it's and that's the biggest of the boxes. It looks like she is getting a main panel upgrade where the new service entrance is going to go on one side and then the rest of them are going right around the corner.
Mhm. Is it, and I noticed there's like an orange tree or something right there. I don't know if it can be tucked so it's like not, that's what on the plan it shows like it's sticking out more towards the center. I don't know if it's how tight you can get to the corner. Or at least some of that will be concealed by the tree that's there.
On the plans, it looks like it's going fairly close to the corner. I'm not sure if there's any other obstructions where they can't get, but I'm sure it won't be too far from the new service panel.
I think that the only other place to tuck these things away, but obviously the logical place is by the new meter. But unfortunately, it's right at the front of the house.
Can the boxes can be painted for the most part, right? I mean, I understand we need a meter. Anything owned by the utility would not be, but this next
Everything can
switch.
be painted except for the meter and what we call the combiner box, which is for the monitoring. But the combiner box is, it's not brown or gray, it's kind of a silver. So they are nice looking, and then it's just got the logo of the monitoring company on it. Those are the only two that cannot be painted. Otherwise, the conduit and all the boxes can be painted to match the house.
Looking at the Google Earth picture, to the left side of the house next to the wall, looks like there's already conduit going up there. If we have another conduit going up, it really is going to look, for lack of a better word, junky.
I think that's probably like a cable TV or something, or some sort of cable service.
All the way to the left. I thought maybe it was a downspout for like off the parapet roof. But I can't really tell for sure. That might be wrong.
There is a scupper there, but I think there's also a conduit for, my guess is it's either internet or cable TV. So I drove by this afternoon. Okay. Any other questions or concerns? I'd have no problem if I was really I'm not sure the top of the top row of the array would probably still show a little bit. I don't know if anyone else has concerns about that. If there's, the plan submitted says 12 inches, but you're telling us it's not 12 inches, so we don't really know what it is. And if you're saying it's not going to be showing, if it does show, is it adjustable so that you can, it seems like once it's installed, that's it.
Yeah, once they are installed, they are pretty much set. But as I said, if we lower them, it will greatly affect the production of the solar system, where they won't be producing as much energy.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
So I know our rules are 12 inches, but we have an application that says it's not going to be 12 inches. And the representative of the company, the first thing she says is there's no way to put it to 12 inches and have it be effective to the way they've sold it. So it feels like there's an integrity gap there. And I don't want to call it out like that, but it definitely, if our rules are 12 inches and the application says 12 inches and the rep's saying it can't be 12 inches to be effective, we got a problem.
I agree. It's like we're kind of stuck with.
I think that we've got an application that's not valid based on our rules.
I can have the plan redesigned so it does not say 12 inches. And I can confirm with them as to how low we can actually go. But the tape measurements that we showed are our typical tilt systems. And if we go much lower than that, it will affect the production.
Understand.
Can I also add that I feel like it's a pretty simple calculation. If somebody does the measurements for how far back from the street those solar panels are to be, and then how high the roof is, and like a 6-foot person standing on the street, I mean, we can calculate whether or not we're going to be able to see those. So, I mean, that would be another way for us to say, like, well, it's okay if they're 20 inches high because you've done a calculation that shows us that they're still not going to be visible on the street, or, I mean, that would be a way for, I think, to be an acceptable package.
Yeah, just Pam or Jason, the rule doesn't specify 12 inches. It specifies that it's not visible from the street. Is that correct for flat roof application?
That's correct.
Okay.
And
You're
I've
on
been
mute.
told by our tech that was on site that they will not, these will not be seen from the street. They won't be seen from the street, and they won't be seen from the golf course.
Yeah, the
'Cause I know
golf
that
course
was
is
the
a long way
concern for
away.
the board.
Yeah. Yeah, the golf course is many houses away from here anyway. It's not a concern. Yeah, I just don't know when, so you tell us that all we have is a statement, and then when they are installed and we go drive by and we're seeing tilt panels because the parapet really isn't that tall. And now, we have no
Recourse.
recourse, exactly.
Sorry, didn't mean to finish your sentence.
No, thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
Chairman, can I
Yes.
add a comment? First of all, as far as the production goes, we have the ability under the law to require reasonable accommodations. They can't be so onerous that it makes it, economically not feasible. However, there's an area in there that we have control over. So my concern right now, I share Ron's thoughts. We have an application, and this is a design review board. So we review the design. The design in front of us has several either errors on it or things that right now we can't determine. So what I think would be the best interest for everybody involved would be if the applicant went back, got it confirmed, revised the plans, and then came back, so that what we're looking at is what they intend to build. Because enough questions. Sometimes we have them where it's something minor and we can leave it up to staff, to determine, but this sounds to me like there's a number of different things that need to be done, and it's not our job to figure it out, and it's not staff's job to figure it out for the applicant. So that would be my thoughts. I'm not sure how we save this otherwise, other than having them go answer the questions, modify their application, and then come back so that when we see it, it will, all these questions will be answered, and the application we're looking at is what they intend to build.
I agree, David.
Can I ask then if they can provide some sort of, like calculation or, I don't know, proof in the package that these are not visible from the street, is it then able to be approved by the city, or does it still have to come back?
I think my concern would be there's so many moving parts to it's not like there's one calculation that could be made where staff could do it. There were a number of issues that were raised, concerning the corner and where the various wiring and things are going to go. And then we get into the thing about, are they going to elevate or not? And there's some resistance there. And I think, again, they may need to go back to their customer and say, it looks like we may not be able to get it set in at this amount. If not, can you live with this other figure? Because I think, the applicant's representatives are here, but the applicant is the one that ultimately decides what's a business decision for them. So I think this one, normally I'm all in favor of, getting it ironed out, or at least to the point where staff can do it and we don't have to look at it again. But this just seems to me like there's a lot of moving parts that I think should really be worked out before we take a look at it again.
I like Rachel's idea. If you can, you could probably put something, mock up something at the height of where the first panel will line up, and then go down and take a photo from the cul-de-sac or from the road. And if it's not, it's barely visible or just not visible, then if you do, or some sort of measurement of that parapet, and then bring it back for us to look at. I just don't like not having recourse if we're just saying, oh yeah, it has to be this mounting, but the drawings say something else, and it's just too many things.
Yeah, I agree. And I think my biggest issue is, again, we have an application that says 12 inches is going to be the maximum height. And the first thing that was said is that number is not valid. So I've got a real concern with that. So I agree that if they can provide documentation somehow with a picture or calculations like Rachel said, then that's certainly fine. But as it sits right now, I wouldn't feel good voting for this.
Okay. Well, we can, if someone put forth a motion to table this item to our next meeting.
Yeah, I'll move we table it to the next meeting.
Okay, Ron, you'll second?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Any further discussion?
Just so I'm clear,
Yes.
if we have the plans revised to remove the 12-inch that is stated on the plans, we get verification that they won't be seen from the street. Does it need to go back before the board, or can the other staff approve it?
The motion right now is to table it to our next meeting. If anybody wants to revise their motion, or David, or if you just want to leave it as.
I think that's the exact question we were all just talking about, and then I made my motion to table to the next meeting. So, others can.
Oops, muted. The board feels that they would like to see this again at our next meeting. At
Okay.
least that's the motion on the table. We haven't voted yet. Okay. Any other discussion before we vote? All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, thank you. All right, let's move on. So, let's see the next item. Next item on our agenda, design plans for an addition exterior remodel proposed for 14200 West Village Parkway, number 2035. Discussion and possible action on the design plans for an addition exterior remodel proposed for 14200 West Village Parkway, number 2035. So this is one of the patio homes or
Yes.
townhouses?
Cache.
No, it's a patio home.
Okay.
Yeah.
ahead, Jay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to step in. You're supposed to ask if you'd like the staff report first.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
I'm just assuming that's next. Thanks, Jason.
Sure. No, I didn't mean to give my own segue. Okay. So yes, this would be our first, so the cottage homes, we have the different housing types that are with the 3 housing types within Cache, and some of them are the cottage homes, which are like the little patio homes. And so, Pam and I discussed whether this was really, do we need to bring it to the board? Do we not? It's also our first cottage home from Cache. Let's go ahead and bring it, even though it's fairly simple. So I'm going to go ahead and try to share my screen again. What I'll do for next time, guys, is I'll use a different monitor so you don't have to see the big, the ultra wide stretch here. But at least you'll be able to see the difference. Do you guys have the staff report in front of you? Would that be easier, or should I just show you the exhibit? Yeah, I'll just show you what I've got here. Give me 1 second. Okay, here we go. All right. So what you've got over here is it's 2 versions of the same home, and what they've wanted to do is they've done a 100 square foot bump out. And you see this little circle here, this is where it's at. So if you look here, you can kind of see it shifted back behind the front plane of where these windows are. And if you look here, it's shifted forward. They want to bring it forward and add a bathroom to the residence. So it's really not that discernible that the difference is there, but because it's on the front face of the home, it's our first Cache Cottage edition. We just wanted to run it past you and let you see kind of, what it looks like. I think it looks fine. I almost wouldn't know that it wasn't offered as something Cache could have offered as an upgrade or included in the base package. But anyhow, that's the presentation. It's very short, and that we're just recommending, of course, approval, but that, again, all colors, building materials, and finishes shall match those of the existing residents. I think the reason that you see 2 different colors here is because he's showing like the base of what it looks like and then what this one will look like. I'm not 100% certain. I'm not sure, Pam, if you have any more background on it, but that's my understanding.
I went online and found the illustration. That's the model home. Because I wanted to show, I couldn't get into, because it's a gated community, I couldn't get a good picture of it. So I wanted to include that so you could see the side of the home.
Got it. Okay.
The applicant did say that addition is offered as an option, but they did not take the option at the time they built the home.
Okay, then that would explain why we're so easily able to see it. It's not like we're seeing it as built and coming back for permits. So, okay, thank you. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. Of course, the applicant is, I believe, John O'Connor, so he's not here to answer that. But is it John on this one?
No.
I think the applicant is here for this one.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, wonderful. If you have anything else to add, I'm sure the chair will ask you.
Yeah, hi, good evening. Yeah, I'm here. I'm listening to the meeting.
Okay.
Could you just state your name for us, please?
Yeah, good evening. My name is Roy Ramirez, and I represent the remodeling company that actually I was the one that submitted all the paperwork, and I spoke to Pam a few days ago on it.
Okay.
Thank you.
So
I'm
this is
I'm
already
trying
built, correct? It's already
Yeah,
built. They're going to add this on.
Correct. Yes, I'm trying to come into the Zoom meeting right now, but for whatever reason, it says the host needs to let me in.
You're in. I can see you.
Oh, yeah.
Hi.
Yeah, it pretty much is going to follow the same architectural design that's already there at Cache Homes, the same roof line tile, same color, same stucco. I mean, identical. So, and she did send me today, yesterday. She sent me. It's on Wigmon's signature 3. Well, they do offer this, the Cache, and we actually went to one of the models that actually has this bump out for the it's called a third bath. Or a guest bath on one of the floor models there. So they do offer this already when they're doing the builds, new builds there.
Okay. Is there an HOA that needs to approve this?
I'm gonna submit. Yeah, normally if once the city approves it, pretty much it supersedes the HOA. At that point, they'll easily approve it, but we need approval from the city.
I'm not sure if that's the correct sequence or not. Usually we ask for the HOA
Yeah.
approval.
We do, because the concern would be if the HOA makes changes to what the board approves, then we're not consistent when we go to building.
Okay, so you would need the HOA approval. So okay, so once we do get approval on it, then what happens?
That, I mean, we can approve or deny, you know, or we can approve with stipulation that it's based on HOA approval or stipulated on HOA approval.
Because I submitted a lot of stuff, you know, around the West Valley and pretty much in the East Valley too, and pretty much, especially like Goodyear. Once the city approves it, it pretty much they're gonna approve it at that point.
Mm.
So I mean, you guys are a little different. That's fine. I mean, no big deal. I'll for approval for the HOA because, like I said, there's everything's pretty much the architectural design is pretty much and the builder already offers it. It's not like it's not something totally different. You've already got homes in the community that have this third bath.
Yeah.
So I don't see why they wouldn't approve it.
Okay. Well, do any of the board members have any questions for staff or the applicant? Let me get out of my screen here. Let's see. Okay, there we go. I mean, I drove by. I mean, that area. It's more when you see the pictures of the elevations. They look like standalone things. These are very tight, together, zero lot line sort of houses. I don't know if there's a Google Earth picture of. Probably not because it's recently built. So.
Well, the problem, if it's gated, I can't get Google Earth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
By the way, the gates are open until they sell out. So during the day, anybody can go in.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, just so that everybody knows, whenever I'm able to provide you a Google Street View, I will. Unfortunately, sometimes I can't get in because the gates, whenever the car runs by, if the gates are shut, I can't get it.
Yeah. Okay. Any comments from the board members?
I think Bob has his hand up.
Hey, Bob. You're muted. There you
Even though
go.
I'm not a board member, I physically drove by it this afternoon about 4:30 and was wondering where or how something was going to be added. Now I see the corner. The only two questions I'd have is, first, is the HOA intact and operating by local board members, or is the HOA still owned by the developer? because they're not built out yet.
Sure.
And so the question would be, since this was a model home at the very beginning and they designed it this way, they're very picky about what goes on each plot of land when they lay this all out. So that'd be my only question is, how you, sir, you said the HOA should be not a problem. Well, I
Yeah.
sit on several HOA boards, and HOAs do have a lot of power, and
Yeah.
not inflated,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, this is not the model home. This is a spec home.
it
I said-
was a model home. It was part of the very early ones, and then they built out, and changed model homes every year or two.
But even so, Bob, excuse me, Board Member Dar, you're correct. I used to do track turnovers and HOA turnovers, and if I recall, I can't remember if it's at 70% build out, they'll transition over. But I'll have to double check. I'm not sure who's actually in control of the board or not. Does anybody know how built out this project is?
It's fairly built out, but I'd like to mention, we don't require HOA approval for, the city cannot require HOA approval. It's up to the applicants to be sure they follow their HOA rules. It always, I think, is better when the applicants come in if they have the HOA approval, but I do not require them to bring that to me because it's not the city's responsibility to make sure someone else is complying with their HOA regulations.
Thank you.
So, I mean, I could suggest if you want to, you could approve this, and then it would be up to the applicant to be sure to get their HOA approval.
Sounds fair.
And
Thank you, Pam.
I could say the reason we do that is HOAs, at times they're very good and sometimes they are not. Sometimes they have good architectural committees, sometimes they're not. I have heard HOAs tell me that, we'll approve it as he said, once the city approves it, sure, we'll approve it. So sometimes they do like us to go first, the city to go first.
Susan, you're muted.
I think the question for the applicant really is, we could approve it. We have no control over the HOA, but if they build it to what we have said, and the HOA doesn't approve that, then they're going to have problems with the HOA. Conversely, if we approve it and they go into the HOA and the HOA wants them to do some changes to what we have approved, if they make those changes without coming back to us for the approval, then they've got the same problem. So I guess just whatever we do, I'd want the record to be really clear on that so that we don't, if there was some major change the HOA wanted and they did that, we didn't approve it. So we would then have a problem on that end.
Okay.
That's
you.
correct. At that point, they would have to come back to the board, to the design review board.
Okay. I have a design question because right now there's a little window that faces front. And with this little addition, I don't see any windows at all. Are there any windows?
Yeah, there's going to be a window. That window that's there existing is going to be pushed out. Like I said, there's they do offer this on some of the spec homes there. They offer this third bath. In fact, like I said, she just sent me this yesterday. She sent me the plot plan for one of the homes there. It's a Signature Series 3, and they offer it's the same identical floor plan that she has, but with a third bath. Now, what I'm going to do from here, I'm going to go straight to the HOA and submit this, what I've submitted to the city for approval. Whatever they tell me, I will come back to you guys. We are a licensed company. We're a general contractor company, so we're not going to do whatever we want. I've been submitting HOA approvals for HOA for the last 30 years. We are going to be in compliance. We're going to do what they're going to ask us to do. So,
Okay. My question is on the plans, and I asked about the window, but it's not showing on the plan elevation that you put forth with us.
There's actually, there is gonna
One
be
on
a,
the side, but not on
Yeah.
the front.
yeah, there's actually one on the, there's in the one in the front, there's that picture that Pamela put up. That's the identical layout that it has. It's got a small little, it's like a 12 by 14 window. That window's it's gonna be pushed out. That whole wall's gonna be pushed out. So it's gonna, the way it looks at now, that bubble's gonna be pushed out. So there is gonna be a window there.
So the window is gonna go above the toilet or in the closet?
No, it's gonna go above the closet.
Above the closet.
Yeah, they have one now there. Actually, the homeowner's not too happy with it because the sun comes in really high, but I said we have to put it in for architectural purposes. We have to. There's no two ways about it. So that window is going in there.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess as long as the elevations that are drawn on your submittal versus the picture, I mean, the picture is fine. The picture of the model is fine. The elevation doesn't show any windows on either side, so.
Do you have I don't know do you have a copy of the floor plan and the site plan? Foundation, roof framing, and then the elevation on mine is showing one window.
I don't have anything. I just have the basic.
Oh, you're looking at the frontal. Yeah, I see what you mean. Okay, yeah. There is gonna be a window there.
Okay. Any other board member questions, concerns? Motions?
Yes, I would make a motion to approve the package at 14200 West Village Parkway with the stipulation that there be a window on the front and that the HOA approves. And if the HOA, has any stipulations or changes, that it comes back to us.
Absolutely.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second? Ron or Dave?
I think my concern is we were just talking about the fact that we don't have the ability to require the HOA approval. So I would suggest amending, saying it is approved, but for the record, the understanding that the homeowner apparently needs to go to the HOA. And if the HOA wants anything different, that has not been approved, that will not have been approved by the board, and the homeowner would have to come back.
Yeah, I think that's essentially what Rachel said. That they would have to come back. Is that right?
I thought I heard her say that they had to get HOA approval.
Oh, okay. I would just say that I think we understand as a board. Pam, do you understand what we're saying? Okay.
I have it. Thank you.
Okay, so the motion so far is to approve with the addition of the window as seen in the picture of the model. And if the HOA requires something other than what we've approved, the applicant will have to come back to the board to present those changes. Correct? Okay, so that's the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, thanks. You can choose. All right, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now back to the agenda. Okay, so next we have design plans for an addition exterior remodel proposed for 910 East Campina Lane. Jason, you want to give us your review?
Absolutely. Just give me 1 second. I'm trying to figure out how to show you my screen. I believe you have the exhibits in front of you, but in the staff report, I've got the existing street view along with the proposal. Give me 1 second, see if I can figure this out. Oh, here we go. I've got it. Thank you. All right, I'll share my screen. You can see the DRB staff report. 1 second. Okay, so please focus on the pictures on the left. This is the remodel and addition to an existing residence at 910 East Campina Lane. The applicant for this project, for their narrative, they seek to approval to modernize and add to the existing residence. Per the narrative provided by the applicant, the proposal is intended to keep the pitched roof and parapet intact with the shingles. Areas where additions are proposed will include parapet roof lines. Stucco and paint colors are going to match the existing, while new metal trellises will be used and added to the portions of walls that don't have windows to kind of break that up. You can kind of see, if you look on the elevations down here, there's some stuff put on there as well over here. While the narrative does try to attempt to describe all the changes and details, the proposed elevations have a lot more going on than just what the narrative said. So if you look at the existing home here, you can see this portion of the home down here is basically the same as this portion of the home here. But they're going to do like a low courtyard. They call it a pony wall, but it's more like a low courtyard wall. Lots of windows added. A significant portion here is added, and then also this garage, I think, is maybe a 4-car garage. So it's a really big remodel of this house, and kind of based on the condition of what it looks like, it may be kind of aging, and so this will really bring it up to something a lot more contemporary, larger, and obviously probably more valuable. Staff finds that the addition and the remodel will add value to the residents of the overall neighborhood. We are recommending approval of the application subject to the exhibits provided by the applicant. All colors, building materials, and finishes shall match those of the existing residence as stated in the exhibits, unless it's also modified by the exhibits provided, since there's some appear to be new materials. And I'd be happy to answer questions on it.
Okay, thank you. Is the applicant here to discuss?
Yeah, Michael Thompson.
Okay. Can you, is there anything you want to add to Jason's summary?
Am I able to point on this at all?
Yeah, request. Let me see if you can request. Hold on 1 second.
There was just that one area next to, like, between what you can see is the main house and the new garage. So if you move, yeah, right there where your pointer is right now.
Yeah.
That's actually existing. That's the existing garage. It's hiding behind the trees on the street view there.
Okay, so is that just set back? Is that why
Yeah.
we can't see it? Okay, so
Right.
that is existing. All right, that makes sense. But you're converting that to livable, correct? And this is the new garage?
Correct. Yeah, so essentially what you'll see from the street view is just the new garage. That's the only additional structure you'll see from the street view.
All right, are the trees staying or are you taking them out?
I believe there is only one tree left there
Oh, okay.
now. We haven't done anything with it. Those 3 palm trees are going to stay though, for sure. And I think there's like one orange tree in front.
Here.
That
I'm sorry, I cut
existing
it off.
garage.
Okay. All right. Thanks for clarifying that. I couldn't see it from the street view.
Okay. Yeah, it's difficult with the landscaping to see that. This will be a good remodel for this street. Any other questions from the board members muted again? No. From the board member to staff or the applicant? None? Would anyone like to propose a motion? There's no discussion.
I'll propose that we approve the package as submitted for 910 East Campina Lane.
Have a second?
Sure, Ron.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve this as submitted. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, good. I think this will be really nice for this neighborhood. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Mhm. Okay, now back to. My mouse is going really slow. Okay, next item. Okay, design plans for an addition exterior remodel for 465 East Estero. Jason, you're up.
Yes, okay, so kind of keeping in the same vein of the prior application, we have an existing residence at 465 East Estero. The applicant for the project seeking approval to remodel and add about 600 square feet of additional livable area and about a new 815 square foot garage to the existing residence. 815 square feet, as you know, gets you about a 4-car garage. Based on the narrative provided by the applicant, the proposal intends to keep the pitched roof parapet intact with the shingles. Oh, I'm sorry, hold on a second. Let me make sure I'm reading the right one here. Oh yeah. And so you can see the difference here from the street view. Obviously, these are different residences, so please focus on the page on the right. Maybe actually, if I zoom in, I can lose the other one. Give me a second. This might help. Okay. So you can see the existing residence here. It's in, kept in good condition. Clearly, slump block. It's got the pitched roof elements. But the proposal to remodel it is clearly quite different. They have I guess maybe they call it making it more contemporary, if you will. There's a lot going on with the fenestration. You can see the shutters being added, rafter tails. You can see the roof line is more or less kind of the same, but they're adding a lot of adornment to the entry. So you can see, what we've seen in the past is these kind of low slung entries, like right what's here. They're bringing the prominence of an entry tower there to bring focus to the front door. You're going to see a difference in materials here. Again, more adornment to the windows here. Just a lot of changes, and then you'll have the carriage doors added over here to the addition on the right hand side for the garage. So there's a lot going on here. It's a large lot. Staff, finds again that this will be another great addition to updating what's already a nice home into an even nicer home. And it's consistent with what we've seen with some of these relatively upscale remodels in Litchfield Park, as the park continues to improve. So with that said, we are recommending approval as the project is likely to add value to the residents in the overall neighborhood. And all colors, building materials, and finishes shall match those of the existing residents unless it's modified by the exhibits provided by the applicant. And so with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Is the applicant present or his agent?
Yeah, this is Mike with 360 Construction.
Okay.
Right. He's back.
Yeah.
We saw this before, didn't we?
Yeah, there's just been some slight modifications to the plan. And it actually simplifies the plan and takes away the one thing that I believe the board had a problem with, which was the RV garage, and that's been deleted with these new changes. So.
Okay. I remember. Okay. It looks good. Looks really good. Any questions or concerns from the board members?
So I think that if I could say something, my son may be joining me. I love this. I think it looks beautiful. But I would like to just make a comment generally that I think with that desert landscape style, the color of white, it seems a little kind of cool in tone to me. I think it might, I mean, you might consider going with something a little bit more warm of a white. Obviously doesn't change my feelings about this package, but just a comment for consideration.
Yeah, with a remodel this size, you know, there will be some landscape upgrades following the construction of the house, and I'm sure some more greenery and getting rid of some of the desert landscape and rock.
Yeah.
I think it's a nice package. If it's okay, I'd like to just go ahead and make a motion that we approve this as presented for the 465 East Estero.
Okay. Thank you. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay. Passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And I think we have one more thing. So the next up is signage proposed for Sun Health La Loma campus located at the northwest corner of Litchfield and Camelback Roads. Jason, can you tell us about this one?
Certainly. Thank you, board members. And we also have Paul Vanderveen. He's available. He's obscured somehow. I think he's through telephone. But he's here to kind of discuss things. But I think kind of we want to get to you kind of, let's do backstory first and then talk details afterwards. How's that? Okay, so as you know, Rancho La Loma, AKA Sun House Development, is the master plan community that includes the Continuum of Care campus, which is the approved use across the entire property for the most part, except for agritourism. And Continuum of Care allows the residences, the medical facilities, all of the accessory commercial uses, the little civic center that you saw that's been at least a year ago probably now, but hasn't been quite yet built. Now, you probably all know they're moving a bunch of dirt out there. They're really excited to get going. And as part of Paul's endeavor, they're looking at what's the appropriate signage to bring notoriety and identity to this project. So that's kind of the premise. So there's a couple things. How do we get there and what's appropriate? So Paul met with us, I believe was it just this week or last week? I'm not exactly sure. And he said, hey, this is what we want to do. We know, of course, the intention is likely to be what's the path of the, I don't like to say least resistance because that sounds like we're being lazy, but what's the most reasonable path? How's that? The problem that we've got in terms of the code is that this is a billboard. This is a 25-foot tall sign. It's at the northwest corner of Litchfield Road and Camelback Road. Aside from the fact that you may love it, you may hate it, or you may not care, it is 3 times the size of any sign that we would normally allow. Now, the design review board has some minor discretion to allow comprehensive sign packages to occur, right? So you can kind of work with people on getting a comprehensive sign package that works for a commercial center. In staff's opinion, and we've made it clear to Paul and others that this package, as attractive or perhaps unattractive as it may be, is so unique and so particular to this project that it suits the bill that this project should probably be considered an amendment to their zoning, because the whole premise of having a planned development is to provide development standards that cater to unique projects that perhaps do not strictly conform with the code, right? The code is intended to keep everything in order and keep it just the way we want it. But hey, sometimes we have this really cool, unique project, and Sun Health clearly is a unique, big project. Then this would be an opportunity to do that. Now, he may differ with us on this, but I'm going to let the attorneys be attorneys, and we're not here tonight to deliberate whether or not legally he can just ask the board for approval, you give it to him, and he goes and pulls a permit. What I'd like to do is to show you what he'd like to do. Get your initial thoughts on what does it look like? What are the materials? Are you concerned about the height? Are you concerned about the illumination? Are you concerned about the location? Are you concerned about the windmill? Are you concerned about the 60-year-old truck parked out front? You know, this is going to be the identity of the northwest corner of Litchfield Road and Camelback Road. So if you think you know Litchfield Marketplace on the other corner, this one's going to have its own look for sure. So that said, love it or hate it, this is what it is. I've gone ahead and shown you, this is kind of like the landscape version of this. The below portion of this is the other entry. You go further west. This is a lot more muted and more kind of more typical of what you're seeing at Sun Health. And then this is the kind of the blow up that kind of shows you, you can see kind of like the gooseneck downlit looking lights that will illuminate it there. On the ground, you can't quite see it, but there's intended to be some uplighting. So you really get the sign to glow. It'll have an even amount of light on it. They'd like to do split rail fencing. This is all kind of somehow managing to tie this agritourism concept that is as yet developed with the whole Sun Health campus, which is a kind of a conglomeration of basic contemporary Southwest architecture and a little bit of the new stuff like you saw in the community center. And it's all kind of an amalgam together. So what they're hoping for is to get your blessing and send your blessing up the chain so that council, I believe, will ultimately be the one that have to make the decision on this, and they can construct it. Now, of course, Paul would love to do this. I'll let him speak in a moment, but within like a couple months. But if you look down here, here's the site plan. This is the area where, here, see this stuff down below? This is this kind of area here where, you know, it's the more muted stuff. This is the billboard. This is Litchfield Road. This is Camelback. And here's, you know, Fry's and Starbucks. And this is 25 feet tall. So it definitely is unique. And you'll see stuff like this in developments across the country, particularly in developments, I believe, that are kind of rural agricultural productional themed. But that's it. Oh, and the intention is that the trees and everything else around this will all go in together. It won't just be the sign and nothing else. They want to do it as a package. And so with that said, this is a study session item. It's not up for recommendation, but what we would love to hear is commentary back from the board so that same commentary can be shared with others as this thing moves forward. I know, Paul, I know you just are dying to speak, but you know, it's my turn first.
No, yeah, I think you did a good job, Jason. I don't have any complaints.
But the chair runs the meeting, but I kind of wanted you guys to get where it's at. And I don't want to sound like I'm that staff at a study session level is trying to spin this as, oh, we love it, oh, we hate it or not. I'm saying it does not exist in the town as it is. This is something new. And this is your initial thoughts on, are you going to trend towards embracing it? I do not know for sure that it will come back to you, but it likely would be coming back to you for action as a recommendation to P&Z and council on if you support it, you deny it, you support it with conditions. So that's kind of where you're at in it. So this is your first glimpse. And I'm watching the chair's expressions.
Do you have anything to add, Paul?
Yes, Chair. This is just for clarification. Paul Vanderveen with Sun Health. Our corporate address is 14719 West Grand Avenue. I think Jason did a good job. I think he's being a very good city person to state the case. I'll put a little bit of passion just in that you know, we do feel this is a statement. We do feel it's a statement for 322 acres, which would include the hilltop portion. We're not trying to say this is Sun Health. We're not trying to say it's one of the pieces of many things that will happen on this property, but we did want to harken back to the history and tie things in. So the truck that's representative, and I think there's an exhibit in the package. I'm sorry, I'm on my cell phone tonight, so I apologize for my format. But the truck actually was part of the Hilltop at one time. It is an old farm truck, 1957 Chevy. It sits on our property as abandoned and looks a little beat up right now. The city manager and I were going back and forth on who actually owned it, because we didn't know for sure if it was not the city's transferred when the city took it over, but we found out it's ours. And so we actually think that's a historic element. It'll be painted the Sun Health blue, and on the door, it'll say Sun Health. So really the idea is that we're promoting Rancho La Loma, the historic property. The development would be like any development you'd see maybe Pulte do, where it's something, and then by Pulte, and the door on the truck would be by Pulte. The truck would be affixed to the ground and done. And then the trellis work under the billboard is actually reminiscent of the trellis that's outside of the Historical Society and Aunt Mary's house today. So we're trying to keep things tying in. And then in the theme of the old orchard, the trees that start to go up Litchfield and start to go down Camelback are orange trees, mature orange trees, so we can start to get it to feel back in that historic nature. So I'm sure it's shocking. I can tell you this is a several renditions down, and the first rendition we were told looked hillbilly. So if you can feel better about, we've matured from hillbilly to something that at least our group and people we've tested with feel much more comfortable about this than where we were. And
that's a very good negotiating tactic, Paul.
Yes. Well, I'm just saying this wasn't our first draft. We went through probably 6 to get to this point, but that doesn't mean that there aren't going to be comments. And like Jason said tonight, I don't need a nod of approval. Just how you feel. If you need more time to think about it, you can respond after the meeting too. But definitely want to hear or at least understand your concerns. And maybe if there's some positive, I'd like to hear that too. But I don't need to take all night. So however you guys feel about commenting on it, I'll just take that and we'll see where we can go with it. And I thank Jason and Pamela for working with us and being patient.
Thanks. I'm glad I didn't see the earlier versions, because I still think it's a little hillbilly.
One thing too, if I may add, while the conversation ensues, is the concern that I didn't note earlier was if the agritourism component of this project never materializes, if we just end up with 1,100 residential units and some medical buildings and some whatever else happens in the back, how would you feel if this were to be constructed and standalone, and then behind it would be dirt, and then finally get to the hilltop? My thought was, if it was all built out and you had like this great crazy agritourism thing going on, would that make any difference in your decision? So, but that was just one thing to throw out there. And at that point, I'll mute myself and I would stay on the discussion. So
I think it's just so enormous, and the sign itself is all word. It's just kind of it really punches you in the face. And all these years that I've been doing this, all the residents are always promoting how they want Litchfield to be upscale. That's always been what they've been asking of us, and it's just not upscale. So
I just want to, on that note, I would like to ask, I thought that like some of the drawings, I'm so sorry if I'm confused about this, but I thought some of the drawings that we've seen from the same kind of new development and other slightly removed areas were kind of more modern looking. And so I'm just wondering how this, I mean, I know that it ties into the history of Litchfield Park, but the new stuff that's going to be happening up there, does it really tie in with that?
Right. If I can answer that, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to. So if you remember our community center, which we had to put a little on hold for COVID, but we're still trying to bring, is on the down Camelback to the west on the other side of the medical office building. And that building is very modernistic in reminiscing, or looking at the modern movement throughout Litchfield Park. And then some of our elevations of our casitas within our first phase of our senior living expansion carry that same modernism feel. But that's at what will be a roundabout or a traffic light and the main entrance for the residential down on that way, where we don't see a big sign of any kind. This really is what we see as the corner introducing the whole overview and the historic nature of the property. And so that might help you bridge that just a little bit. I don't know.
Paul, it's Ron. I just think that the height, and I think you have so much space there to do so much with, that if you did something lower that allowed the visibility of the view behind it and what we're trying to do, what you guys are trying to do behind it, I don't think it makes me think I'm going into a Florida orange grove instead of a beautiful new community. And I just think that you have all the space to do things and have a nice low sign that's going to allow visibility behind it and not take away. And if I will tell you that I would imagine from conversation with council, you get something that big, then it's not just the first one, then the next group is going to ask for the exact same thing. And that's a slippery slope that I can't imagine anyone's going to want to go down. Just being honest.
No, Ron, that's like I said, it hits you. I might want you to think about it a little bit, but I appreciate the comment. Some of the things I might want to do that I was talking to Jason about, I might want to do some balloon tethering because the corner is massive and the space is big. It's somewhat hard to correlate. And I think that as a due diligence for ourselves, maybe I need to do some helium balloons up and get the scale of where the trees will be, get the scale where the sign will be, and confirm that. So yeah, that's good input, and we can look at those things.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said scale, because that was my next question was this kind of picture has the truck and the windmill. Is the scale, I mean, do you think that's correct based on what we're describing? Like the windmill is a little bit higher than 25 feet and that car is visually, or the truck is visually about what the scale would be?
The truck is actually just a smaller truck, but scale wise, it's probably to scale. My architect firm is within that realm. That truck, the scale, the truck they used is probably a little smaller than the truck we have that we're going to remodel. But they have told me that the Gree Pickett, the architect's firm, has said that this is roughly the scale that you would see. So I think, and Jason caught me on this as well, saying, if you could get the actual corner in a photo and then Photoshop scaled on top of it, and I could probably do that with some ballooning, then some of the scale might be more acceptable. If the content, were okay, then we might be able to bridge the two concerns.
If you're looking, and the other comment that, and Rachel brought this up already, is that it does seem to be a different animal from the other buildings that have been brought forth. And if the agritourism is going to be on this kind of thing, maybe that's something to look at later. It's got to kind of tie together. Right now, it's just kind of a really foreign thing to the rest of the development. And it's like, you're not expecting people to pick a theme 20 years ago and stick with it, but I think it's a little discordant.
The thing, what I agree with you, Paul, and to clarify to the board what we've requested is there are a number of programs. He's working with Gree Pickett. They have many sophisticated programs at their disclosure, as you know. They can do a very realistic photo rendering of what this thing will look like. If I'm sitting in my car right here, or right here, or right here, or right here, you can know what this thing is going to look like. Now, I understand the one part I differ a little bit with Paul on is this idea that it's really set back really far from the intersection. It's really not. 50 feet right here is sitting on top of the intersection, really. Because when you're thinking line of sight, I mean, this is going to be like right here. And I'm saying, instead of us trying to find ways to try to coax in and diminish and try to swab it in. Let's just say it's going to be a 25-foot billboard that's going to be illuminated and it's going to be at the intersection. And do you like it or do you not like it? And if we do it in the rendering that really shows what it looks like, I think, Paul, like you said, you're working on, I know you don't have enough time to do it, but we just met. I think the next time that the design review board sees it, let's look at that. And then I'm thinking that the height of the billboard will start to look a little bit lower than it's seeming in this kind of 2D, like right here. It's like, whoa. But I also don't be surprised that it's still going to look really tall.
No, I appreciate all the comments. I appreciate the fact that we're allowed to have a conversation like this, and I'm not insulted by anything. And I appreciate it. And we can come back with a little more detail. Just start to absorb it in your mind, and then we'll see what we can do based on the comments. I just appreciate you guys letting us talk tonight about it.
Well, this is Dave Ledyard. One
Yes,
of the
Dave.
things that I would like to see, I'm kind of a visual person, so some different angles that show what you're anticipating is going to be likely directly behind that sign, and kind of how it looks from different angles as to the office building to the west and the more modern. And the other one that I think is really important, where you're setting that sign, and I think it's too tall, and I'm not thrilled about the height of the windmill either, but one of the things that concerns me would be what is that going to look from the backyards of the houses that are on the corner directly across the intersection? Because those properties, they've already had to deal with the CVS property, which is before my time, and people are still talking about CVS and those lights. So it's not going to go away. And then we have the Fry's Center, which they seem to have resigned themselves to. But we're talking about a lighted billboard now that is right across from somebody's backyard. And there's at least 2 houses over there that are going to be able to see that from their backyard. So I'd really like to know, what are those people going to see? And once we get in further, I have no doubt we'll be hearing from that neighborhood about this sign. So those are all, I really would like to take a really long look at what's going to be there.
And if I may add to that, Board Member Ledger, is that using the process that I don't see a legal means outside of this process that would hold water. As part of a PD amendment process, there would be a notification process to allow those neighbors to be involved, rather than a DRB process where it shows up on an agenda and it does get posted on a website, but we're not sending out notices where people are like, oh, there's something happening that's going to impact my life. For example, we didn't send out notices for the custom homes that were on the agenda tonight. So that's just, the way we do things. So I just want to be careful that we consider doing it the right way. Again, not thumbs upping, thumbs downing anything, just making sure we follow the right procedure.
Yeah. And I think scale and lighting can be possibly adjusted, but we'll take all the comments and we'll come back with try to answer all those for you.
Yeah, and real quick, Paul, I think lighting is something that's going to be important, because I know there's been some complaints of the people in the greens and the lighting from the baseball field. So I think lighting is a real sensitive issue for them right now.
Yeah,
as you're going to.
And I disagree a little bit with Jason, because it's not going to be like a back illuminated sign. It's front back. So I think we're going to be a little more demure, but there will be light. So we'll have to address that in our response.
Yeah, and Paul, I didn't say that it was an internally illuminated sign. I said it was illuminated by the goosenecks and from the ground lighting.
Sorry.
It's okay.
You didn't mention my shovel backlighting though, did you?
I didn't really get into the shovel, because then we had to start talking about what that looked like, and it's not on the picture. So
okay, all right. We'll get that up in the next meeting.
He's got some funky shovels in the ground. He wants to show you next time.
All right, thank you. So there's no action required. You're just looking for comments.
Yes, and thank you all.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Jason, anything else you want? Any other comments from the board, or? your understanding?
No, I guess the comment that I had too would be, again, you know, and I'm sure Paul talks about it, and, you know, unless, you know, they've got signed contracts and moving dirt, the dirt's moving over here, but like, you know, this very much agritourism themed kind of sign concept occurring. Is there any connection as to when this land use occurs that's behind it, and you open up a PD box, you know, are we going to get the groves? Are we going to get the rest of it that kind of ties into the rest of this multi-use theme of the overall master plan? And that's the only thing I worry about is, like, you know, in 20 years, are we going to end up with a whole bunch of new houses and some medical buildings and the community center, and then like 20 acres sitting here with this big billboard out front?
Yeah. I mean, my first instincts were like, oh, that's, nobody's gonna like that. And I'm my first impression is like, it's just not Litchfield Park. And we have an agricultural history, but there's more to us than that. So, and I don't know. I just know a lot of people are not going to be in favor of something like that.
I agree, Susan. I think, and I kind of think that for me, the windmill is that, you guys maybe need to educate me a little bit, because I wasn't born and raised here, but were windmills really ever utilized here? I mean, that seems like more of
No,
kind
that
of like a
seems more
Midwest
like
thing.
an Oklahoma kind of thing. That's why.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of just think of the Dust Bowl, honestly, when this, which I don't think we want to evoke thoughts of dust here. So anyway, I just wanted to mirror those thoughts.
I think if you took the windmill out, it automatically makes it 25% better. Then we can go from there. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Anybody else want to add anything before we move on? No. Okay. I guess is the last thing on there is I gotta get back to my agenda.
Oh, here.
Last thing is minutes. Am I missing anything? I think the last thing is approval of the minutes from January 7th. A motion to approve.
Move we approve the minutes from January 7th.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? None. Okay. I don't have my current events from staff.
It's a current event from staff. Just a couple things. I believe we're continuing to get a forward action on a prospective human being application. That's at Dysart and Camelback. There's a parcel there along Camelback. The owner / developer, we're not exactly sure which one, is seeking to split that parcel where it would be a possible human being. Are you familiar with human being? It's a coffee kiosk. It's not like an indoor dining. It's like, you know, less than 1,000 square feet, very drive-through oriented, but would have a patio. We're anticipating that coming in, and then it's been spoken about that the residual of that parcel that would be split could be used for oil change, auto service type stuff. But that's the latest on that. Aside from what you're seeing tonight, I'm not sure that, do we have something else pending, Pam, that I'm missing besides our work on the zoning code?
No, I think that's it.
Which parcel is that again that you're talking about?
It's east of the AutoZone, right?
No, west of AutoZone, between AutoZone and Dignity Health.
Sorry, you're right. I'm thinking east of Dignity. Yes. Sorry.
And I saw Denny's is under construction. So
Yes.
yeah. When do they anticipate opening? Do you know?
No, I don't have that right now. Soon, I guess.
Pam, do we have status on permits for the car wash north of Denny's? Do you know?
I know they've submitted for the car wash. No, I don't know where they're at though in the process.
Okay. And I think that's all we've got for now.
Okay. Do any board members have any report current events? No? Okay. Motion to adjourn? Rachel,
motion.
thank you. Second? You know, David will second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.
Oh,
night.
Pam, what, do I have you?